Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are continuing to move up my list of my top 100 games of all time. We're getting so close to the top 10 of all time, but today's list features games 40 through 31. We are getting to my best games, starting basically now, maybe even the last, maybe from the 50 on. These are games that I believe will stay in my collection forever. I don't think I will ever get rid of any of these games that are from here to the number one, obviously, unless a game just comes along out of nowhere and is does something similar, but I think it does it better. Which, I mean, that happens. A lot of games kind of cannibalize other games, so sometimes games replace other games. But in my opinion, right now, I think these games will just stay in my collection forever. But let's just jump right into our 40th game today. And the 40th game is a game I've had for a while. This is Clank, a deck building adventure. Obviously, this is a deck building game. But this is a really interesting deck building game because you're going to be moving around a board also. And so the cards that you're going to get, they're going to allow you to do a couple things, moving, fighting monsters and stuff. But in this game, you're going to be moving down into this like dungeon layer, underground area that has a dragon in it. And you're going to be going down there, collecting different things that are worth points, collecting treasures, artifacts, and you are going to be making noise, which is clank. And you don't want to make too much clank because once so much clank, there'll be an attack from the dragon, and so you're going to be all the clank that people have been making, all those cubes get put into a bag, and you're going to be pulling these cubes out randomly, and hopefully it's not your colored cubes because that will you only get 10 hit points. So if you pull one of your cubes, that's one of your hit points. So you're going to try and go down into this dungeon, collect as much points and treasure as you can, and make your way up back and hopefully reach the tippy top of the board and score the most points. So this is like this push your luck sort of game that I really enjoy. And one thing about Clank is it always has these stand-up moments, maybe more so than any other game that I play, because at the end there's always this one person who's trying to get a little bit more treasure. They get a little bit greedy and they're just staying down there a little bit longer and they could possibly die, and we're pulling out cubes and everybody's like cheering and cheering or cheering against them, whatever floats your boat. And it's got those stand-up moments in it, and that's one thing that I really like about Clank. And I have to mention, there's Clank the regular, there's Clank in space, which just puts Clank into like a space theme, a spaceship sort of setting, and then there's Clank Legacy. Out of all three of those, Clank Legacy is my favorite. It's really well done. It's one of my favorite moments I've ever had in board gaming. But I just threw all of that into one. Clank in Space is my least favorite out of those three, but it's still good. The only reason I don't like it as much as the other ones, it's a little bit longer than I think it needs to be. But yes, number 40 is Clank, a deck building adventure. Let's go to number 39. Number 39 is a very small card game, a game that doesn't get a lot of attention. This is Hats. This is a very underrated game. Last time I checked, I think this was rated like 3,500 on Board Game Geek, and it came out I think like 3 years ago now, and it just never got the respect or attention that I thought it deserved. It's a little card game, so those have a little bit trouble, more trouble, getting traction, getting attention from serious board gamers, I should think. But in this game, it's this Alice in Wonderland themed card game, and it's a very thinky game for a simple game. You are going to have 9 cards in your hand, and they are numbered like 1 through 6 in different colors. And on your turn, you are going to take one of your cards and replace one of the cards that are on this table. It's this T table, and the table has different numbers. It's 1 through 6. You're going to replace one of those cards. Take that card, put it into your tableau area, and take the card that you were replacing it with and put it back onto the table. At the end of the game, you are going to score points for the cards that are in front of you based on the cards that are on that table. So if there was a brown card on like the third slot of the T table board, all your brown cards are going to be worth 3 points. And you're just trying to maneuver this and outmaneuver your opponents, outthink them. So you're really trying to think what they're going to do, and you're just trying to score as many points as you can. Like I said, it's not a game that's got a lot of attention, but it's one of my favorite card game filler type games, and one of the higher ones on this list. There's not many more filler card games on here. There's a couple, but this is up there with them. So yes, number 39, Hats. Going to number 38. Number 38 is a push your luck game. This is The Quacks of Quedlinburg. I am very surprised this reached this high on my list, as this year was the first year that I've gotten to play The Quacks of Quedlinburg, and I've heard the hype of it. Yeah, this lived up to the hype for me. This is probably my favorite push your luck game, because it's all push your luck game. It's all push your luck. In this game, you are going to be bag building. You're going to be building these chits, and then you're going to on everybody's turns, you're pulling out these bags, these chits simultaneously, building up this little area. And if you pull, I think it's 7 or 8 worth of these gray tokens, you bust. Your pot busts. And one thing that I like about this game is it's that push your luck mechanic. But if you do bust, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially if it's the start of the game. You'll still get some things for it. So I enjoy that. I don't necessarily like push your luck games that are extremely punishing. This game is your push your luck game, but it's not as punishing as some other games. So number 38, The Quacks of Quedlinburg. Let's go to number 37. Number 37 is Century Golem Edition. Now this is a retheme of a game known as Century Spice Road. Century Golem Edition it's 100% the same game, just with a new theme, new art, and this one looks a little bit nicer. Spice Road looks like your Euro game. This one it's a little bit more arty, like a little bit more cute art, I should say, funsy. And in this game, this is my go-to game to introduce people that haven't played a lot of games. I mean, everybody's got their go-to intro game. This is my go-to game for that. If you're coming to a game night with my gaming group and you say, well, I haven't played a lot of games, I'm bringing this game for sure, because it is a game that is easy enough to teach, easy enough to learn, but everybody seems to enjoy this game. At worst, people think it's an okay game that I've played with, but most people have really liked it. I've had a lot of luck with this game. I have taught this game to a lot of people who don't play a lot of games. I've played this game with my son. I've played this game with my sister. I play this game with my game group all the time, like I said. And this is just like an engine building game where you're going to be taking these gems. You're going to be playing cards or taking cards, but the cards are like take certain colored gems, trade certain gems for other gems, or upgrade gems to a higher colored gem. And that is all in hopes of buying these golem cards that need specific gems to buy them. And the golems are going to be worth so many points. After a person has so many golems, the game is over. Really fun game, and my go-to intro game, like I said. So number 37 was Century Golem Edition. Going to number 36. Number 36 is a solo-only game, and this is The Lost Expedition. This is a game I have played so much in the last year or two. This is just this card game, and you need to travel from the start of the map all the way into the lost city of Z. And the whole time this is happening, you're playing out cards in order, and bad things are constantly happening. But you're trying to neutralize those bad things. So you're going to have to choose, like, can I take some health damage, or can I spend some food? What is the best choice for this particular path? And it's a very hard game to beat. I've played this game, like, in the last year, I've probably played this game 30 sometimes, and I think I've beat it 2 or 3 times maybe. So the win percentage isn't very high, but it's a game that I adore. It's so clean, so fun, and it only takes about 15 to 20 minutes to play. So it's one that I like to break out quite a bit at home. So number 36 was The Lost Expedition. Let's go to number 35. Number 35 is a cooperative game. This is Horrified, American monsters, or you can put the original horrified Universal monsters here. Either or. I prefer the newer one with the American monsters. I think those are a little bit more interesting. But you're basically playing as these different people with special powers, and you're trying to kill or neutralize the enemies. And you have different variety of enemies each game depending on which monsters you pull out. Like in the new one, you could be versing the Chupacabra, or you could be versing Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, different things. Or in the Universal monsters, you could be versing Dracula, or the Invisible Man, or the creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein and his bride. There's a lot of replay value in these games, depending on which monsters you pull, especially if you do the random like we do. But yeah, it's one of my favorite cooperative games of all time. It's a very simple game to teach, fun game to play. Number 35, Horrified. Going to number 34. Number 34 is a John D. Clair game. This is Space Base. Space Base is like this dice chucking game, and you are going to be, whoever's the start player is going to roll dice, and depending on what they roll, they're going to get rewards for whatever rocket ships are in front of them. You have your 1 through 12 rocket ships. And the dice, you can either take the sum of the dice to get that rocket ship, or you can take both of the dice. If it was a 1 and 3, you could take a 1 and a 3 and get the rewards for the 1 rocket ship and the 3 rocket ship. Or you can combine them and get the reward for the 4 rocket ship. And, the higher number of rocket ships usually give out better rewards. But what's interesting in this game is everybody's going to get rewards when you're rolling dice, because if it's not your turn and they roll the dice, you're going to get rewards for whatever rockets are on the top of your ships. So after you do that on your turn, you're going to get your rewards, and there'll be like victory points and money and stuff, and those money will buy upgraded rockets, and you're going to replace the rockets that are in that slot and move that to the top of the board, and that's how you're going to fill out your top row, and that's how everybody's going to get points and stuff on other people's turns. This is interesting because at the start of the game, you want it to be your turn, because then you're guaranteed stuff. At the end of the game, towards the end of the game, you want it to be other players' turns, because you're going to get more stuff on other players' turns than your own, actually, which is super interesting how that flows in that game. But yes, number 34, Space Base. Let's go to number 33. Number 33 is another cooperative game. This is The Loop. In The Loop, you are trying to defeat the evil Dr. Foe. This is a deck building game. You are going to be moving around this circular board, trying to take out his clones that he's sending out, trying to make sure these rifts don't happen. Because if there's so many rifts from all his clones coming out, then you lose the game. But you are going to move around the board, taking care of those clones, also trying to complete certain objectives. And it's a really good game. It's a deck building game of sorts. You're not building a lot with your deck, but you're building enough. And those, different cards do different things for you on that board. There's different special actions. It's a game that just came out last year, or maybe 2020. It's a game that's really, really good. I really enjoy it. Number 33, The Loop. Going to number 32. Number 32 is another John D. Clair game. He has become one of my favorite designers. If a game comes out with him on it, I'm really interested in it. But number 32 is Eco's First Continent. Eco's First Continent is a game where you are going to be building up the first continent. It starts out as just a couple tiles, but after rounds, the continent's going to keep growing and growing as you're placing more and more tiles out onto the board. And you're going to be doing that by using these cards, but you can only use those cards if you're going to be pulling chits from this bag that have resources on them. You can then mark that resource on one of your cards, and if you fill up that card, then you can activate that card, and you rotate that card. And these cards, you can activate them so many times depending on what that specific card. But those cards will do different things, like I said, like expanding the continent, putting out mountains on the continent, putting out trees, putting out different animals on the continent, activating those animals, and maybe some animals will go eat other animals that are on the continent, and you'll get points for different varying things in the game. And it's just interesting watching the continent grow and expand, and new things added. And I just think it's a really interesting game. So number 32, Ecos First Continent. Going to our very last game of the day, this is number 31, Spectre Ops. This is a hidden movement game, and it is my favorite hidden movement game. In this game, one player is going to be playing as, it's like an agent or something. I don't really know the theme too well. But they are going to be going around and trying to hit so many of these objective marks and then escape the board. And it's interesting because in this game there's tons and tons of places to hide. It's a grid board, and there's tons of different places to hide, and you are trying to get in the line of sight of, if you are trying to find the player, you're trying to get in the line of sight of this person so you can attack them and eventually kill them. And there's just tons of different places to hide, so you're trying to like math out possibly where they could be, and everybody gets these special abilities, and it's really interesting. And I think this game does hidden movement better than any of the other games, in my opinion. I absolutely adore this game. And there's Spectre Ops, Broken Covenant, which is like the same game, just new characters and everything. But yes, number 31, Spectre Ops. And that's going to complete this section of my top 100 list. This was 40 through 31. Stay tuned in the coming days, and I'll try and get these out pretty rapidly. Make sure to, these are games that you don't want to miss, because these are the best of the best in my opinion. But anyways, if you did like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care, everyone.